Peace talks between Ukraine and Russia are due to start this morning as Russia's invasion of its neighbor enters its fifth day. The two sides are expected to meet in Belarus near the Ukrainian border. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says he does not expect a breakthrough, but is willing to send a delegation to try and end the war. It was calm as the sun rose over the capital, Kiev, though Ukraine said there were sporadic pre-dawn blasts there, and in the second largest city, Kharkiv. Ukraine says it's still in control of all major cities, despite the Russian onslaught in many parts of the country. Several residential buildings have been hit, and Ukraine says over 350 civilians have been killed so far.
Weapons of war at a children's playground in Kharkiv. These images uploaded to social media purportedly show Russian soldiers. The person filming says they are shooting at houses. But they run into fierce resistance. A trail of Russian reconnaissance vehicles is left smoldering as Ukrainian soldiers drive the Russian army back out of Ukraine's second largest city. The regional governor says Kharkiv is back under Ukrainian control. The capital, Kiev, is also putting up a fight, while explosion after explosion goes off near the heart of the city. A war just outside the window. Many flee to subway stations when they hear air raid sirens.
With my family, I moved to our relatives' place because they are closer to the metro station, and there is a better opportunity to run down the metro station itself if heavy bombing take place.
In the east, apartment buildings in ruins, a gas pipeline and an oil depot in flames. In an effort to stop the destruction, Ukraine's president agrees to peace talks. The Ukrainian and Russian delegations will meet without any preconditions. Frankly speaking, I do not really believe in the outcome of the meeting. Meanwhile, new satellite images show a convoy of hundreds of Russian military vehicles approaching the capital, a sign that the fighting there may become even more intense.
Let's get the very latest from DW correspondent Fanny Facha. She's in western Ukraine in the city of Khmelnytsky. Fanny, how has the situation developed in Ukraine overnight?
Not really for the better. In fact, there were several attacks on the city of Kiev, on the city of Kharkiv. These are major cities, of course. This is where we have seen the increase of violence, of shelling over the past few days, ever since this full-scale invasion began last week on Thursday. Now, it is really unclear how it's going to continue, but everyone, especially in Kiev, is bracing for a major assault as amid the fact that there is assurance there by the Ukrainian president that he's going to try to negotiate, that there is this talk possibly even this morning at the Ukrainian-Belarusian border, trying to bring about at least some sort of a ceasefire. But the situation is very tense. Also here, actually, where we are right now, 3 hours west of Kiev, sirens were blaring tonight, so we were really preparing to go to the bunker again. No explosions were heard, however, or no reports about that, but there are military units nearby. And what we can see actually coming to our position here today, a lot of families packed up early this morning trying to flee the country towards Romania, while there's an influx of refugees here to Khmelnytsky from Kiev and many other parts of Ukraine. So the situation is chaotic, actually, at this point. It is panic, nervousness, but also the hope that maybe if there really is a talk today, at least some pause can be achieved.
Fanny, we're looking at, we've seen some satellite images showing a massive Russian military convoy just outside of Kiev. This convoy is about 5 kilometers long. This suggests that a major assault could be imminent, as you mentioned. How is Kiev preparing to defend itself?
it's incredible the way people here on the ground, how they were trying to unite over the course of the past few days. In fact, just in front of me, I see people signing up to be drafted voluntarily before they actually get that phone call to go to the front line. Others are donating blood, trying to help the way they can. So if you ask an ordinary Ukrainian, they will tell you, yes, we are prepared because we are motivated. Of course, if you look at the numbers, Russian troops versus Ukrainian troops, Russian troops are superior compared to the Ukrainian defense. At the same time, however, you also have to look at the fact that so far at least Russia did not succeed to occupy any major city and did not go beyond that line in the Donbass. They occupy the self-proclaimed republics of Luhansk and Donetsk, but no further progress actually has been made, other than, of course, the increase of attacks in so many parts of Ukraine.
What about the humanitarian situation there, Fanny? We're seeing reports on social media of food shortages, supermarkets with empty shelves. What can you tell us?
We witnessed that ourselves. Obviously, we are affected in a way, in that way too. That of course we also need to get food and very basics, just like anyone else. And yes, empty shelves, but there's still basic things available. Depends on which supermarket you go to, where you actually live, how many supermarkets are open. And the best really right now is for everyone to stock up on certain things, certain items, given could be that there is a blackout maybe inside. That means no electricity, no access to internet. So it means people are trying to actually, without overly panicking, really, because then would be even longer lines. But in a way, everyone here is bracing just to be prepared, especially those who cannot go, who cannot leave across the border. These, of course, especially men between 18 and 60 years old who have to stay. They are not allowed to leave Ukraine, but also people who simply do not have a car or enough gasoline to leave Ukraine and bring their families and themselves to a safe region.
Fanny, thank you very much for now. Our correspondent, Fanny Pachar, there in Western Ukraine. Ukrainian civilians have been pitching in to resist the Russian invasion. With their lives turned upside down, ordinary Ukrainians are getting involved in collecting donations and helping to make supplies for the army. DW correspondent Matthias Bödinger met some of the volunteers helping refugees and soldiers in the city of Vinnytsia, southwest of Kiev.
They bring everything they can spare: clothes, food, money. As refugees move west and soldiers east towards the front, here in Vinnytsia and central Ukraine, people are organizing aid for both. Natalia, who doesn't want to give her last name, leads a youth center in peacetime. She's used to organizing outings and summer camps. Now, at war, she's busy directing volunteers and sorting donations. I never imagined I'd be doing any of this. I'm learning all the time. We're improving our work every minute. We are getting there. Vinnytsia in central Ukraine has so far been spared heavy fighting, although air raid alarms are frequent. But like everywhere in the country, people here have been under shock since Russia attacked. Now everyone wants to contribute. A wave of solidarity is running through society. Natalia is out and about around the clock. The nightly curfew is the only time she's not on site. I can't just sit home doing nothing and just waiting. I'm also definitely not leaving. This is our home that we love, and we're not going anywhere. It's not only about donating goods. Many also contribute their time making camouflage nets for the army. Green and brown clothes are separated from the donations and cut into pieces. The rest is a lot of handiwork. The Ukrainian army has been at war for 8 years, still lacking many basic items, including protective equipment. And many here have somebody at the front: a husband, brother, sister, or, in Natalia's case, a 19-year-old son.
Зв'язок є раз на добу.
We are in touch. I can talk to him once a day. It's those few minutes that I'm waiting for all day.
Я чекаю цілу добу.
Being active is also a way for many here to deal with their worries.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has put his country's deterrence forces, including its nuclear weapons system, on high alert. In a video from the Kremlin, Putin said NATO powers had made aggressive statements towards Russia. He also pointed to economic sanctions that will cut off Russian banks from international transactions.
Not only are Western countries taking unfriendly economic steps against our country, I mean the illegal sanctions that everyone knows about very well. But the top officials of leading NATO countries are also making aggressive statements about our country. Therefore, I order the Minister of Defense and the Chief of the General Staff to put the deterrent forces of the Russian military to a special mode of combat duty.
Let's bring in Thomas Viegold here. He's a journalist and military expert. Thanks for being with us. President Putin has put his country's deterrence forces, and I understand this includes its nuclear weapons system, on high alert. What do you make of this?
Well, first of all, you would expect that any nuclear country, may be the US, France, United Kingdom, and Russia, would have their deterrence forces on alert anytime. So this is more or less at this point in time a psychological operation. It's a threat, an unveiled threat against the West, because if you see the situation on the ground in Ukraine, there is no military justification for thinking about use of nuclear forces. So this means this is to deter the West, to give a threat to NATO and the US. And so far the US have said, we have no reason to change our defense conditions. We'll stay as we are, which I think is the only way to react to this.
For weeks, we've been hearing that Russia's army is far superior to that of Ukraine, but they haven't progressed as far as many had expected in Ukraine. How do you explain that?
Well, many in the West, or all in the West, have been surprised by this. There are maybe different reasons for this. One is what the Pentagon last night called the creative resistance of the Ukrainians, who are dealing with Russian forces, counter to their doctrine. They are ambushing, they are attacking support convoys, all these things. On the other hand, as we've seen in the videos from the front lines, it's not the newest Russian material, it's not the newest tanks and all this stuff which has been brought up. So either Russia is not as well equipped as everybody in the West thought over the recent years, or Russia is keeping its most modern, its best equipped troops still back and will bring them into the fight later.
I want to ask you about the steps that the EU has taken. EU members on Sunday took significant steps to prop up Ukraine's military. What difference will this make?
Well, there is a potential for indeed making a big difference. We've seen mostly anti-tank weapons, anti-tank guided missiles, Stinger, man-pads, man-portable air defense systems, and all this, which is to be distributed widely, which doesn't need long-time education and training. But on the other hand, last night, Joseph Borrell, the EU foreign policy head, said EU would also bring in fighter planes. I haven't seen a confirmation for this yet, but this would mean a significant difference, because Ukrainian air defense, strange enough, is still working. There is no Russian air superiority so far. That's also a surprise for most Western experts, because everybody expected that Russia would take over the skies over Ukraine within a day.
Right. Now, the Economist news outlet has suggested that the sanctions imposed on Russia, particularly on the central bank, are so crippling that the Kremlin might interpret them as an act of war. Do these sanctions have any military significance in your view?
Well, normally I would say no, but if you see the Kremlin's point of view, they might well interpret this as an act of war, and this would also partially explain the nuclear threat. We don't really know whether the Kremlin says what's happening to our banks, to our economy, is the same as a military attack, and we will react accordingly. So that's still open to interpretation.
Okay, journalist and military expert Thomas Wiegold there. Thank you so much for now.
You're welcome.